Lost Cities, how to set up and play. First thing you'll do is shuffle the entire deck and deal 8 cards to each of the 2 players. You'll randomly determine a start player, and that player will begin their turn. On a player's turn, they must first play a card from their hand, and then they draw a card, either from the board or from the draw deck. And then play will just continue back and forth until this deck is depleted. Once the final card from this deck has been drawn, final scoring will take place. So there are 3 ways you can play a card. You can start a brand new expedition by placing any card. Typically you'd always want to start with your lowest cards to the board. So I could start a blue expedition by playing that card. I could also extend an expedition. So if I had played that card in a previous turn, I could extend the expedition by placing a higher numbered card to the board. I could have also instead, if I think I'm going to score a lot in blue, play an additional handshake. And then on a subsequent turn, I could extend the expedition by placing a 2. There's 1 of each number color in the deck, and there's 3 handshake cards in the deck. The handshake cards are considered the lowest, but they're multipliers at the end of the game, but they have to come before any of the number cards get placed. The third way I could play a card, if I'm not starting a new expedition or extending an existing expedition, I could simply take a card and discard it to the center. But that makes it available for the other player to take now. After I've played my card, I now draw a card. I draw a card from either the top of the deck or from a card that was previously placed on the board. I can never draw the card that I just discarded. But if I discarded this on a previous turn, and then on this turn I start an expedition, I could draw this from the board from my draw as my draw action, or I may draw a card that the other player discarded on a previous turn. A couple important rules about looking at the cards that have been played. When a card has been discarded to the middle, you can obviously see it. If another card has been discarded on top of it, you are not allowed to look through the deck. You'll just have to try to remember what were underneath each of these cards. You are, however, always able to see how many existing cards are left in the draw deck, so you have an understanding of how quickly the game might end. So to recap a player's turn, they must first play a card, either by starting a new expedition, extending an existing expedition, or discarding a card to the draw board, or to the board. And then they must draw a card, either the top of the draw deck or the top of one of these discard piles. It just can't be the card that they discarded that same round. The game immediately ends again when the last card from this deck is drawn, and then you score each of your expeditions. The goal of the game is to really try to get as many points as possible in each expedition. So let's go over the scoring rules. So here's this player's tableau at the end of the game. You can see they never started a red expedition, so there's no scoring, so just 0 points there. The first thing you do is you add up the sum of all the cards. So in this case, 15. And then you deduct 20 points. So by starting an expedition, you automatically start with a negative value of 20. So you're always trying to overcome that. So this player played 15 points worth of cards, minus 20. They actually score minus 5 for their yellow expedition. Let's skip blue for now and count their total for white. The handshake cards act as multipliers. If you have 1 handshake card, it's going to multiply your score by 2. If you have 2 handshakes, it'll multiply your score by 3. And if you have 3 handshakes, it'll multiply your final score by 4. So let's take a look at white. The first thing we do is we sum all the card values. 0. They didn't play anything except this 1 handshake. We deduct 20. So right now they've got a negative 20 score, and it's going to be doubled from this handshake. It's going to be multiplied by 2. So their score for the white expedition is negative 40 points. So far they're not doing too hot. They lost 5 points here. They lost 40 points here. So they're now at negative 45. Let's look at how they did in the green. So first thing we do is we sum the points. So 15 and 5. So they got 20 points minus 20 because they started an expedition. So they're at 0 points right now. They had 3 handshakes. So that's a 4 times multiplier. So 4 times 0 is obviously 0. So they're not going to score anything for here. If they were able to get something above the 20 threshold, they would have been able to multiply that by 4. You can also score a bonus 20 points if you use 8 cards in an expedition. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So they did not get the bonus here. But I think they're going to get it at blue. Let's take a look at blue. Okay, they did the best in blue. So let's first sum the numbers. So 5, 10, 20, plus 17. So 37 points worth of cards minus 20. So they net 17 positive points, and then we apply the multiplier. So 17, they have 2 handshakes, so that's a 3 times multiplier. So 17 times 3 is 51. So they score 51 points for this stack, plus 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, at least 8 cards, they get an additional 20-point bonus. So the blue expedition scored them 71 points. So to get the final score, we just sum all the scores together. So we know they lost 5 here, they lost 40 here, they broke even here, they gained 71 here. So 71 less 45 gives them a total score of 26, and that's their final score. You compare the scores, the highest score wins the game. And that's everything you need to know to set up and play Lost Cities.